Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the DeWeb podcast. I'm host Eugene Crypto MC, and today is going to be an blockchain investment venture episode because I'm having Abdul Rahman, and I'm very proud to say that Abdul Rahman is from InnMind team, and I've been a close friend of InnMind since 2017. So greetings to Neda Alova. She also were featured our podcast too, and Yekaterina Voronova. So InnMind rocks. And Abdul is a blockchain venture analyst at InnMind, innmind.com. You may find a link in the description. Is the leading deal origination platform. I would say this is the social networking platform for startup and investors, for tech startups and venture capital investors. It connects startups and investors. Very simple business model. Provides networking and business matching opportunities for innovative-minded professionals from worldwide. If I'm not mistaken, InnMind's base of startups includes 5 years ago, there was more than 6,000 of startups all around the globe. Maybe Abdul, you will correct me how many startups is now in my database. Let me finish. So startups and investors, corporation accelerators, matters and service providers. So it helps tech startups and VC businesses grow faster and with less risk. And InnMind is one of our advisor of our Envelop, Envelop. So Abdul, it's great honor and pleasure to have you on the podcast. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Eugene. It's a pleasure to be here.
Amazing. I love to talk to you. I'm not so professional in these relations of investors and startups, and it seems to me that blockchain has drastically changed the model of collaboration between VCs, investors, and startups, because before a blockchain era, they invested fiat money into the shares of companies, then came tokens, we got ICOs and so on and so forth. So you will clarify all the picture, how all it works there. And first of all, let's start with the story. How did you get into the blockchain space in Web3? What have you already done? How did you become a blockchain venture analyst?
So basically it's like this, right? So it's the cycle. It's the same cycle. It works with everyone. I'm pretty sure a lot of people can resonate with me as well. So I got into this with the 2017-18 hype. Okay, wow, BTC is going to 17K. Oh, what is this about? And then we jumped into the hype, and then it started like, I mean, you gain a little money, but then when you lose your money, so that's what happens. Like either you quit or you start learning. So I went into the rabbit hole. I was like, okay, what is this about? I just want to get into this, and started my own due diligence, then had my fair share of learning, went everywhere, and then started investing on my own. So to be frank, my story is I'm from Sri Lanka. I'm not sure if you have heard of Sri Lanka. So from Sri Lanka, and right now I'm actually in Thailand. So I've been like traveling around the world. So technically Web3 changed my life. So I from the bottom of my heart, I believe like it's like a great thing which can actually happen. And I've been personally investing in this space. That's how like the due diligence which I had within the projects. So when you put your own money, you know how much you have to be careful. And then that learning process developed, and I started identifying where that real action happens, where everything starts. And then I got into the VC domain. So far, being on a daily basis, it's a really busy life. On a daily basis, I'm mentoring about 150 startups at the moment from Web3, from all verticals.
This is a story. So what is your exact role? What do you actually do in InnMind? May you explain how your working day looks like? So what are you responsible for, all your responsibilities in InnMind?
Yeah. So I'm a venture analyst at InnMind. So venture analyst as in I'm not just involved in terms of due diligence. So that's my main role. So when a startup comes, I evaluate them. I have certain criteria. I have a conversation with them, filter them, understand how we can position themselves, right? So the first thing first, that's the due diligence part of things. And then second thing is scouting for startups, right? These gems, it's very hard. If you go to CoinMarketCap, there's like 20,000 projects, and you touch your heart and say, how many projects can we handpick out of those, right? So basically, it's a very difficult challenge in terms of choosing the right startup. So scouting, been approaching all over the world,
Scouting
communicating.
means searching for talents, like in sport and baseball.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So you have to search for them because these guys are really like hidden gems. So and then like talking to VCs, right? So VCs on the other hand, they have certain expectations. Startups on the other hand, they have certain mindset and everything. So what we do is we actually come in between and understand both these parties and then facilitate the deal flow. So to wrap things up, due diligence, scouting, and then facilitating deal flows, and then like improving startups in terms of partnership, understanding, and then like, helping them with the grant processes with different chains. Yeah, you can go on.
Well, when we talk about startups, we mean Web3 startups in your case, or any startups. Because we need to divide.
Web3. I'm
So
exclusively talking about Web3.
Well, how do you define a Web3 startup? What are the main criteria to separate Web3 startups from all other startups which are not related to Web3 at all?
Okay, so the other startups, the primary thing is that they are, so firstly we need to understand, right, like the Web1, Web2 and Web3, right? So the reason why
they do understand, right?
Okay, perfect. All right. So the centralized thing where it shifts into the community perspective. So in Web3, when they actually have their startup in a community oriented way. So it doesn't really have to be tokenized investments per se. So people think Web3 startup means you have to actually have like you have to issue tokens and then you have to raise funds. No, you can even raise equity, but if it's actually facilitating, or if you're solving some problems in terms of the Web3 ecosystem, then you will be qualified for a Web3 startup.
Well, from my perspective, a Web3 startup, I would say this is the startup which sells its own tokens, not shares, not bonds, but tokens for crypto. Am I correct, or it's very close and how to say not so wide vision, or maybe free? I met Web3 companies who were selling their shares for fiat investors, and they call themselves Web3. They were working in an NFT space and so on and so forth. Or there's so many situations here. We're not close to say that if you sell tokens for crypto, you are a Web3 startup. If you sell shares for fiat, if you're not, what's the main approach here?
If you're solving Web3 problems, then you're a Web3 startup. Because there are certain solution providers which are actually venturing into this space, and they understand, like, how the bridge between. So we talk about Web3, right? The most important thing that we have to focus is Web 2.5, because we are in the transition period. So I don't want to kind of categorize them into, tokens means Web3, equity means Web2 or something like that. But it's just in terms of the problem that they're trying to solve.
Amazing. So we are in the big evolved transition from the Web 2. And I do remember the time when we didn't have Web 2 at all. I do remember the beginnings of 2000 first decade of millennium, where we had no Facebook, we had no Twitter, YouTube, and so on and so forth, and we didn't think about that we were a transition from Web 1 to Web 2, and now we are on the transition. And you rightly said Web 2.5.
Yeah.
this stage. Perhaps it seems to me that all the businesses, all the startups should inevitable look into the Web3 space. Would you suggest for all startups from all the business niches to look into Web3? And if yes, why should they do that?
Okay, so this is a message to all the businesses which are existing on the mainstream traditional side of things. Your biggest competitor is the decentralized version of your own company. So keeping that in mind, so you do know that eventually it's going to transform into Web3. So the reason in Web3 is that we are exchanging value here. So when you're exchanging value and it's faster and you're doing everything on the internet, so basically either you're going to be stuck with a brick and mortar business, or are you going to change everything and then transform and move to like an efficient system?
This is an amazing answer. Really, really. If we have somewhere a centralized business model, somewhere between we will have or we already have a decentralized competitor of the same business model. So if you are looking for a business model, may we say just find any centralized business model and try to imagine how the decentralized competitor of the same business model will be looking like. Is that the correct approach to
Exactly.
Amazing. So now this is time for a call to action, because you are scouting, you are searching for startups. Please make an announcement for which startups are you searching for and what should they do right now after watching this podcast if they consider themselves a Web3 startup and they are searching for investment money.
Okay, all right. First thing first, I want to tell everybody, understand Web3, what is needed in the Web3. What we want is not people who actually say that, okay, you know what, the market share is 300 billion or 400 billion, so we can get a piece of pie from it. No, that's not what we want. We want people who want to solve problems which are existing in the current environment. Web3, as you mentioned, we are actually in the beginning of something new, right? So it's the transition. So still we are building the infrastructure and still we are building a lot of things as well. So keeping that in mind, you have to come forward in order to solve these problems. So if you're solving these problems, it's great. And also being innovative. Just don't try to like kind of copy the same thing. Like, you know, everybody wants to do this and I also want to do this. Don't be just like another startup, right? So you have to kind of understand what is needed in the market. And if you can solve this problem, then we are really happy to take a look at it. So that's the criteria that we look at.
Okay, amazing. So if you are a free startup, if you are filling these criteria, find all the links below. You may find contact Abdul Rahman personally and start to work with InnMind. And here the question comes: how does the business process, workflow of working as a Web3 startup with InnMind look like step by step?
So yeah, so what happens is, as you mentioned in the beginning, so InnMind is something like a platform, like a social media for startups and VCs, right? So any startup can actually create their profile on InnMind.com and fill in all their details, their pitch decks, their value propositions, all the details, which are actually, you can actually, once you go to InnMind.com, and when you register, you will be able to find this information, register yourself. Once you register yourself, try to get in touch with me, or you can actually get in touch through InnMind support. And then we will firstly do a due diligence call to understand how your startup is, like, you know, what are how your, like, the founders, the team, and your business value proposition, your revenue model, your structure, your tokenomics. So we will go through all these aspects of things, and then for each and every startup we give a personalized touch. So because not every method won't work for everybody. So what we do is, we analyze them, we get in touch with them, and then we advise these startups on what next steps that they should do. And if they are all okay, if they are qualified for fundraising, then we will be sharing them with our trusted network of like VCs that we have at InnMind. So we have a variety of Web3 VCs on our network. So they also know that when a startup is coming from InnMind, they go through extensive due diligence, and we prepare them so that it makes their life easier as well.
Okay, so we have elaborated how the work of a Web3 startup with InnMind looks like. So let me ask you some questions about your general vision on Web3, because Web3 consists of a lot of each segments, NFTs, DeFi, DAO, self-sovereign identity, or maybe someone else. What are the main trends in Web3 you are observing from now, which are looking for you like promising trends?
Okay, all right. So two things, right? So if we actually looking at in a mainstream context of things, then if I just go around it, you see play to earn, move to earn, any X to earn is there, right? But from someone who's working in this VC domain of things in Web3, so at InnMind, we actually collected data from 98 VCs and we generated a report. Everybody can actually check out the report on our website. And so based on this report, 40% of VCs they mentioned that the trend that they are looking at is crypto finance and DeFi. And about 33% is looking at like different infrastructure projects like new layer 1s or layer 2s or, cloud oracles, so on and so forth. And then the remaining, they're looking at NFT infrastructure. So the trend wise, I would say building like new solutions that would make scalability wise much more faster. And one thing is like, it's not that I'm not biased towards like infrastructure or, only the serious stuff. I also like games. There are like really good GameFi games which are coming in. Advice to those is that like when you're actually building a Web3 game, for example, don't think it as Web3 game. Competition is games in general. You have Web2 games and you provide the value through Web3. And that's how you provide the value to your users. Like Web3 is not something separate, it's just the back-end stuff of things.
Well, the main component of Playground Gaming in particular are NFTs and non-fungible tokens. I call them building blocks of Web3. What are your general thoughts on non-fungible tokens? How do you see the potential to represent anything unique? How they will change the world? How they will be used in 5 or 10 years?
Yeah. Personally, how I see NFTs is like, for an example, let's just say that you are getting a degree from a particular university, right? So you take this degree, and then if you want to go somewhere or if you want to apply for a job, then you have to kind of verify it with some kind of external organization. It's your degree, you got it, and why do you have to go to a separate organization to verify it? But imagine if these certificates are issued as NFTs. The moment this is issued, anybody can actually verify you're the owner, you own it. So imagine these certificates in everything like insurance, properties, medical records. So this scratching the surface. So in 5 to 10 years, I think it's going to be extraordinary.
Absolutely. And right now, I'd love to ask the professional question from our team. Because of people have been so disappointed with a lack of utility of NFT, and this phrase selling JPEGs reflects this disappointment. So a lot of being discussed right now about a sort of smart NFT or NFT 2.0 or even dynamic NFT. And this is NFT of the next generation. What in particular develop such a protocol for creating such a smart NFT? It looks like a very simple model. So we take an NFT, original NFT from the first generation to represent such a JPEG. Then we add as a collateral some fungible tokens for price predictability. Let's say 50 euros or 100 USDT or BUSD. So we have a price predictable, at least not less than this collateral. Then we wrap it up with a set of new features such as time lock, event lock, royalties, rental mechanic, and so on and so forth. And now, in the end, we get technically the same NFT with another set of features, which are quite more useful in dozens of use cases in Playground, and even in buying the startups tokens in the form of wrapped NFT. Imagine NFT where the startups token are inside and it avoids dumping. It's a very useful model. For example, we call it self-automated future tokens, one of the product of Envelop. So it's quite useful. What are your main thoughts on these smart NFTs? Do you find it useful? What use cases? Give us your
So again, let's just say we had Bitcoin and then we had Ethereum. Bitcoin was the first blockchain and that was considered store of value. And then we had Ethereum, then we figured out, okay, you know what, we can actually do smart contracts here. So just like that, NFTs, they came in, okay, it was digital receipts and uniqueness, all these things. And then the hype started. People thought like, okay, you know what, the JPEGs or whatever it is, 10,000 NFTs, and everybody started buying and it got to the top. Now we are at this stage where we are programming these NFTs based on utilities. So it's the cycle which is happening. It's very normal in terms of any technology which is happening. So it has to have that. As I mentioned, how I got into blockchain is where the price went up, you got reeled in, and then when you go down is where the building starts happening, right? So here right now, the building is happening. Every NFT project is running around because they want utilities right now. So utility is a high demand at the moment. And talking about smart NFTs, especially in terms of these VC domains. In terms of fundraising, these NFTs could be really useful. For an example, if one VC is actually investing in a startup, then let's just say VC is buying $100,000 worth of tokens, then these tokens have vesting period and cliff and unlocking. With these smart NFTs, if you can actually, as you mentioned, these fungible tokens, which these VCs are getting, if they can be wrapped with an NFT, then they can include it, they can have the time blocks and everything will be there. At the same time, in case if the VC wants to kind of transfer this to another party, it's very easy to do, just transfer the NFT. So, I mean, basically this is, I actually met with the Envelop team, the sSAFT NFT, which is really cool. I really love it. And I believe that a lot of VCs should adopt this as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you are quite familiar with this concept of sSAFT. Thank you for a great testimonial. We will put it everywhere because this was a great testimonial from you to understand because of you filtering a lot of startups and investors from in your hand. So by the way, how many Web3 startups have you already walked through your head while working in InnMind? Hundreds or thousands projects?
I mean, I would say hundreds, not thousands yet. But see, it's like this. In deal flow, you receive, let's just say if you receive 100 startups, 50 of them have, they are in this like stage where you understand they are doing something. And out of this 50, maybe like 25 has a working product. And then out of this 25, you jot down and then you understand these founders from different backgrounds, how much of things that they can do, basically when you filter out. So out of this filtered lot, I'm saying there's about 100 plus startups that we are mentoring on a daily basis in terms of fundraising, in terms of getting them more traction. And it's not just about like, we are not just involved in fundraising. These startups, they need clients. If it's a gaming project, they need other projects in terms of partnering up with them, right? So we understand as an ecosystem, we know what are these startups, what kind of solutions that they are providing. So we kind of merge these solutions. So with this synergy, they create like a new effect and they become even stronger.
Well, Abdul, what excites you most in Web3? People, technology, disruption, owning assets. What else?
It's the community, I would say. You know what? Just out of nowhere, you don't even know anybody, and a bunch of people who you issue a token, they believe in the project and they are working on the project. They are your ambassadors. I mean, who would do it? Like, I mean, I don't think like we haven't seen anything like this before. So community is something which is very important. And at the same time, like opportunities and creating a level playing field for everyone. So we know that in terms of starting a business or coming up with a project, a few years back, it was very hard. You need to know the right connections. You need to have certain standards. You need to be from a certain background. Web3 kind of destroys everything, and it's like a level playing field for everyone. So that's what excites me the most in Web3.
Absolutely agree. Disruption. There are two categories of people around the globe. First category, those who are not in the internet. They are not even. They don't even know about Web3. They don't even mind that when they use an Instagram or Facebook, they are in the Web2 space and their data is being sold on every second by Facebook.
Yes.
There are people who are consciously in Web2. They work for Web2 companies. They do understand what Web3 is, but they do not look into the Web3 realm. They are standing for safety, for predictability of the salaries. They still stay in Web2 realms. What do you suggest for those two great categories of people to look into Web3 and to change their life to Web3? Would you suggest and why?
Okay, I'm going to say something controversial. So basically, when it comes to like people who are like no idea about Web3, they think, okay, this is the buzzword or anything like that. If they think like, this tokens or these cryptocurrencies are fat, then, this is something like, it's fugazi. So just look at the dollar, just look at the fiat currency and just see what has been happening with the world around. And you see You see, inflation is a huge problem that all of us are facing in the world right now. Equally, we are going through it right now. Just start thinking like a centralized authority. They are issuing X, like, without unlimited number of currency, and no matter how much you're earning, and these guys are actually benefiting out of it. So if they understand what is exactly the problem in the world, then they will understand this is a solution. Unless you understand what is the problem, you will never be able to change. So for those who wants to start, I will recommend them to go to the root, understand what is fiat currency, what was gold standard, why was it abolished, and why did we get into this phase? And then you will understand, okay, then we had the 2008 recession, and then 2009 we had the white paper release by Satoshi. So everything was like a flow, right? So you go to the roots, study the history, and understand what went wrong for us to get into this phase. And yeah, for newcomers, I mean, or people who want to like understand, I would recommend like watch a lot of like, podcasts and, videos. Impact Theory by Tom Blayu is an amazing thing that people can actually watch. He brings in people from the Web3 space, and then like he takes you through from the basics and what is actually happening. These are the issues that they talk about over there.
Amazing recommendation. Seems to me that you read books on Austrian economics. You know the history of money very well. Why the gold standard were abolished, how the fiat money system had been evolving in the 20th century. And I'm an economist by background, and I came into industry 5 years ago in 2017 because I knew very well how the fiat system works, how fraught it was, and I realized that crypto has been the technical solution for realizing all the ideas we were discussing in our marginal corners as an economist. Amazing, really, really good way to put yourself into the Web3 realm by understanding the current problems, artificial problems, which were created by some of the minds and some of the heads of politicians with our current fiat money system. This is a great point to start. So Abdul, finally, what's the best way to get in touch with you, to connect to you, to start talking about Web3 investment and so on for Web3 projects?
Yeah, so reached out to me on LinkedIn and Telegram, just search not another Abdul anywhere, and then you will find me. So any platform, just search not another Abdul. That's it.
Okay. So you may find all the links for Abdul profiles in the description. He's also tagged in the links on Facebook where you have found this post. Abdul Rahman from InnMind, platform for investors and startup, was my guest today on the Envelop podcast. I'm your host, Eugene Crypto MC. Please like, share, subscribe, and stay tuned for next episodes of the Envelop podcast. We deliver you unique stocks with the guys, brilliant minds who built the Web3 space where we in transition into towards for now by their minds and their hands. And in the mind means in mind. Thank you very much, Abdul. Stay tuned for next episode. Bye-bye.
See you.
Blockchain. BLOCK chain. Digital money, smart contracts, NFT, IDO, decentralization, transparency. So many opportunities, but so many challenges. Some financial manipulators, by their actions, confuse blockchain solutions and block their development. The idea that the blockchain should bring copyright and royalties protection to the next level is quite old, but the realizations of these ideas are not perfect at all. There is another problem of determining the value of a particular cryptocurrency or NFT. These and other problems need to be solved. Fortunately, the blockchain infrastructure is evolving. My name is Mr. E, and I represent the Envelop project. Many things have already been invented in the blockchain today. Tokens, smart contracts, platforms for creating your own coins, NFTs, exchanges for buying, selling, and exchanging all these blockchain resources. Envelop is another step in the development of crypto technologies. The protocol that works with NFT and cryptocurrencies. The idea is simple but disruptive. Let's assume you have an NFT, Bitcoin and Ethereum. Using the Envelop protocol, you can wrap the original NFT accompanied with several tokens. Technically, you get a similar NFT, but what is the breakthrough here? Once wrapped, the token has a number of additional features that were not available before. The minimal cost appears. It is provided with coins wrapped together with NFT. An asset wrapped with Envelop has a number of properties that allow the original author to receive royalties from the resale of that asset. Various rules can be applied to the wrapped token. For example, a lock period for unwrapping. It secures the asset till the determined moment or safeguards it from speculation during the hype period. At the same time, wrapped tokens can be transferred and traded. These are just some of the scenarios for using Envelop. NFTs become more popular, and the tools provided by Envelop expand the opportunities of NFTs utilization. Wide application possibilities are achieved due to the fact that, in addition to the protocol, the project includes a number of subsystems. The protocol provides functions wrapping and unwrapping. Oracle Mechanics provides asset valuation using analytical algorithms. Index provides a summary assessment of several NFT assets with the common criteria. The project has its own token, which connects all elements of the system. Altogether, this is Envelop, a tool in the blockchain world for building modern and secure systems in various fields. Find more info about the project on the website. Envelop. Make your NFT valuable. Just practical, no hype.